So the man who had been mocked as the Tipex president, the professor who had once been chased out of State House by Democratic erasers, began to look like a reasonable alternative. Malawans asked themselves, would you rather have the preacher's sermons about moral rebirth or the professor's lectures on fiscal stability? It was a question of whether you wanted hope or food, light or prayer, sermons or forex. And by 2024, the answer was tilting back to the professor. By 2024, Malawans were not asking whether they could eat democracy. They were asking whether they could at least cook it with the electricity that kept disappearing. Inflation ballooned past 30%, forex vanished, and queues for fuel stretched longer than Sunday sermons. Chakwera, once a preacher of hope, had become the embodiment of biblical job, except instead of losing cattle, he lost credibility. His Tonse alliance splintered like cheap firewood, and he presided over a nation where 5.7 million faced acute hunger. It wasn't all failure. His administration launched irrigation projects in Mzimba, electrified 9,000 homes, and pushed the Inkosi Yamakhosi Mbelwa University forward. He introduced youth loans and food aid and improved some roads. But when people are choosing between maize flour and soap, they don't want to hear about dual carriageways. Chakwera spoke of transformation, but people listened to the sound of empty pots. Mutharika smelled opportunity. At 84, his candidacy looked like a joke, the resurrection of geriatrics. Yet in Malawi, where disillusionment is the only renewable resource, voters reasoned, better an old man with a record of 5% GDP growth than a preacher with endless excuses. His own scandals, from the cement import saga to asset freezes, faded in collective memory. His Democratic Progressive Party rallied, and in a move that could only be described as satirical self-parody, Mutharika chose Jane Ansah, the very MEC chair once accused of mismanaging elections, as his running mate. Malawans groaned, but they also shrugged. After all, this was a nation that once annulled an election with Tipex. Perhaps irony was just part of the constitution now. By the end of 2024, Mutharika was back on the campaign trail, frail in body but sharp in rhetoric. He promised stability, forex, and food, basic things that had become luxury items. Crowds returned to his rallies, not out of nostalgia, but out of desperation. The preacher had been weighed and found wanting. The professor, though visibly elderly, carried the illusion of competence, and it was enough.